Greetings, and good evening, everyone. So, you know what? Hold on, let me check for technical difficulties because sometimes I have that echoing. Let me make sure. And yeah, lo and behold, a little bit of echoing. There you go. So it's all taken care of. Yes. So this evening I will be discussing politics, politricks, and all of that good stuff with our presidential candidates. Now, the reason I'm choosing to speak about all of the candidates is because I see everyone else only speaking about Donald Trump and the recent event that happened in Pennsylvania. I'm going to speak about that later on in the video. However, I want to start the video with information regarding all of these candidates, and it'll be a little bit more information than others, and then, maybe a little bit of information about some and more information about others. So, welcome. Welcome. Who do we have here? How are you, pretty kitty cat? Good evening. Good evening. I never really believed voting would get Black people anywhere. Just saying. No, I totally get it. I'm doing this video so that you would have additional insight, so that you would be able to view from a different perspective. It's not necessarily for you to go and start voting. It's not necessarily for you to stop voting. It's not necessarily for you to vote for a certain candidate. It's just information that you may or may not be aware of. And of course, I always tell everyone to do your own due diligence, do your own research. And if you're going to vote, vote. If you're going to be independent, that's fine too. If you're going to be Republican or Democrat, that's, whatever's going to get you to where you need to get, So yeah, good day, Miss Bliss. Politricks. Yes, Politricks. So I'm going to start off with a small talk about just, the game, this game. So let's go and let's get started, okay? So here we have 3 candidates that are running for office for the United States of America. And as I said before, this is simply a game. And we're going to speak about this political game. Most people don't know that politics affects many things in their life. Yeah, politics, politricks, laws, rules, regulations, manipulation, and all of that good stuff. So hold on, let me get the video rolling back again. Let me let it loop. Okay, there we go. So, as I was saying, politics, politricks, and all of that good stuff. This is a game. It's a game that is played in a portal that's designed to pull you in. Criminals, employment, education, money, war, food, children, medical. Well, this is all part of the game. It's all part of the political game. Everything that I listed. Because in all honesty, politics affects everything from the very, very top of your head all the way down to the bottom of the soles of your feet. And so many people wonder exactly how can politics affect anyone from the top of their head all the way down to the bottom of the soles of their feet. Well, I'm going to dive into that, and I'm going to give you a little bit more insight on that, a little bit more discussion. But I want to explain to you that politicians' responsibility is to make themselves appear attractive. Now, it's not attractive in a physical sense, but more like create this popularity amongst themselves and make them appear more charismatic. Their presentation can be misleading. It can be confusing because people hear what they want to hear, as opposed to checking these people's backgrounds, doing the research, doing the due diligence, going to the rallies, and just seeing what laws, rules, and regulations these people are passing and how does it exactly affect our community. These politicians, they often make broken promises and they manipulate you. They take advantage of you. Nonetheless, people continue to participate in the game, in the political game, in the political portal game. Black people have yet to actually have someone in the office who passed a specific law that directly affects Black people in a positive way. And I'm talking about a law for Black people only. Now, they'll say, well, why would you expect such a law? But other people have received this type of law. So if they can do it for them, they can certainly do it for Black people. So this means that laws, rules, bills, and regulations that affect the Black community only, whereby you have the opportunity to rise and advance mentally, psychologically, and financially. So if special laws are passed that affect the Black community in a good way, in a positive way, we can rise up if we do what we're supposed to do. And of course, let's hope and pray most of us do take that opportunity and do so if the opportunity ever presented itself. Now, of course, there has been laws passed where we are able to benefit. However, this is laws that are passed for everyone. There were plenty of opportunities to ride the coattail of many rules and regulations passed. The things is that Black people rarely pay attention to those laws. There's so much talk about reparations and not much discussion about prison, about jail, about schools, about your children, about your jobs, about your businesses if you have one. Everyone wants to discuss reparations. Everyone's on the reparations bandwagon. And this reparations discussion has been going on for years. And have we received anything? No, not really. And by the way, I might mention, prison is a private investment. It's a private organization. In addition to some schools are also private. So a lot of these prisons and schools have investors who want to invest in your community and thus take advantage of you. So no one's discussing this. And this is because America is a business and it's all about successful businesses. And Black people, most of them, they don't get it. Now, how does politics affect you? Well, it can affect you in a number of ways. We have all different types of laws that they have created. We have civil law, criminal law, tax law, family law, estate law, intellectual property law, just to name a few. However, I repeat, not a single law has been passed to help assist Black people. Nonetheless, Black people vote for these candidates. What's the definition of insanity, by the way? When you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results, but you actually get the same results. The same results are repeated over and over again. So why do people do it? I believe Black people vote because they're hopeful. They're wishful. They like to believe that someone wants to do the right thing for them. They also are a bit of, I guess you would kind of say, waiting for someone to save them. It's a little bit of that type of energy. It's maybe also lack of enthusiasm to do for themselves. And so they keep voting and they keep believing, they keep hoping, they keep praying, and thus they are waiting for someone to do the right thing. And so far, no one in the office has done the right thing. So you have some people, some Black people who vote, and you have some Black people who never, ever vote. So it's all up to you and what you choose to do. The bottom line is that many of the laws, rules, and regulations affect you and your family. You can believe that it doesn't, but politics affects everything. Like I said, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. whether you vote or not, it still affects you. It affects you emotionally. It affects you financially. It affects you mentally. It affects you psychologically. It affects your education, your jobs, your children. If you have investments, if you travel, if you have pretty much anything in your life, most people lack this understanding. So I just wanted to share that with you before we dived into these candidates. So enough about that. And let's speak about the people who are running for office. Who do we have first? Our first candidate is Joe Biden, the lovely Joe Biden. So, as many of you know, Joe Biden has been in the office now for almost 4 years. And we are about to have an election coming up. And we will see what happens. Well, I don't want to predict. I don't want to predict because my theory is that sometimes we think that we know what's going to happen and actually something else happens. And next thing you know, everyone is going through some type of shock treatment. So I'd rather not say what I think is going to happen. I'm just going to dive into a little bit of history with Joe Biden, who's our current president. So as you can see, I'm listing a few things here and there. So he funded 2 wars, Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine, which is currently still in war. Laws being passed where men can claim identity of themselves being women. He's also recently proposed eliminating tax breaks for landlords who raise the rent by 5%, sweeping financial changes with the IRS, taxes, inflation, historical immigration numbers, approximately 20 million and counting, passed protection laws for Asian, LGBT, and Afghanistan people. So let's dive into this. What does Joe Biden and his administration represent or promote? Since he's been in the office, laws were passed where men were allowed to enter bathrooms and spas with women and little girls, in addition to putting men in women's prisons. I want to focus a little bit on California because California had quite a few instances when this was being promoted. So in California, the prisons, it was reported that 3 women were impregnated when, now I'm trying to find the right way to describe this. So when a person who used to be a man who then claimed himself to be a transgender woman had to be transferred to a women's prison. And so when he got to the women's prison, he impregnated 3 women. So no one is talking about that, but I thought that was an interesting story. So what else has happened since Biden has been in the office, since his administration has been running this country? Another California situation. I'm not sure what's going on over there in California, but it sounds a little chaotic. So, but it is duly noted that California has a Democratic governor. I think his name is Newsom, Governor Newsom. So California's governor could create laws that could protect people, women, children, from the things that the Biden administration is passing. But I digress. I guess they decided not to do it. So we have another California situation. In California, a person by the name of Hannah Dubs, who was previously born as a man and later decided that he resonated with being a transgender woman. Hannah was sentenced to 2 years for sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the part that I myself thought was traumatic and traumatizing to the parents and the little girl. While they were in court, the judge and all of the court officers constantly referred to Hannah as she or her. or woman. Can you imagine the confusion caused by the little girl who was assaulted? In the end of all of this, when Hannah was done with court and was expected to leave 2 years out of prison, Hannah does not have to register as a sex offender and was not required to be in a men's prison. Isn't that interesting? Another law, or I guess that was promoted by Joe Biden, is that men can now play female sports like wrestling and track and weightlifting and boxing. Reports of women being beat to a pulp at these sports competitions. Women wrestling men who are now saying that they're women, who are obviously much stronger and like breaking limbs off of these women. Okay, so that's a few things in regards to like Biden and what he promoted in terms of like women and LBGT and transgender and how it affects just our race in general. So what else did Biden do? Let's jump on the category of drugs. So let's look at drugs and what he promoted or produced for the community. There is a program called the Drug Harm Reduction Program. He introduced the Drug Harm Reduction Program where they give you free crack pipes and needles so you can take crack and meth and all of that good druggy stuff that you need to take to keep your mind, body, and spirit ticking and tacking. Now, this program costs America approximately $30 million. $30 million to give people the things that they need in order to take the drugs that they desire. You let me know if this is helpful. I'm just telling you what he's all about and what he's doing. Maybe this resonates with some of you. Maybe you're in a drug program. Maybe you have someone in your family who received this and maybe you see the good in it. Maybe you see the bad. But the program was supposed to be designed to help the community. I have yet to see the report of the progress report. So more about drugs. Fentanyl is a very dangerous drug. Many of you may know there's more and more fentanyl coming across the border. At least that's allegedly the claims. So fentanyl overdose deaths were about 10,000 in the first 6 months of 2019. Then it went to over 13,000 in the first 6 months of 2020. Brothers and sisters, we are currently at approximately 100,000 overdoses for the year in connection to fentanyl. Does this have anything to do with the amount of drugs coming across the border? They may tell you otherwise, right? We don't know. Did you know that the size of a rice grain of fentanyl could harm you so seriously that you'd be unalived? So 5 pounds could potentially unalive 1 million people when you do the math. That's when you do the math. That's if, I guess, the measurements and the concoctions are not properly mixed together. I'm just giving a short snippet of a few things in various areas. So there's a lot more, but I'm just going to dibble and dabble here and there from the candidates and see, what we're talking about here. So let's move on to another topic with Joe Biden. Joe Biden and finance, Joe Biden and money, Joe Biden and the IRS, Joe Biden and the tax laws. Now, many people feel that, I don't vote for these politicians, or I do vote for these politicians, and it doesn't matter, and none of these things affect me. I tell you again, everything from your head all the way down to the bottom of the soles of your feet, these things all affect us. The Biden administration proposed facial recognition in the IRS law for tax filings. Facial recognition, if anyone knows what it is, it's where they have this program that scans your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, the shape of your face, right? And from this scanning, it's supposed to identify you as who you say you are. If your face is scanned and you're Joe Biden, it's supposed to know that you're Joe Biden. It's supposed to automatically know who you are. So with that said, this program was actually utilized in Detroit. So there was a case with a Black man in Detroit. His name is Robert Williams. And you can actually look this case up yourself. Robert Williams, who was mistakenly arrested from his home due to the facial recognition software that was ran from a store surveillance camera, which incorrectly matched Robert as a suspect. So they went to Robert's house and they arrested Robert in front of his children and in front of his wife. They took him to the precinct because the cameras and the surveillance cameras in the stores were linked up with the software, and somehow it detected that Robert was the person who robbed the store. Of course, later on, they found out that Robert was innocent and they let him go. However, how much damage was done to his family, to him, how much psychological trauma was done to his children that were watching their father be arrested? Facial recognition, guys, facial recognition. Now, if the IRS used the facial recognition software, a company named IDME would more than likely manage it. The company would be paid about $86 million to collect facial data for about 2 years, and the data would also potentially be part of the law enforcement agency. So this data would not only potentially be connected to the IRS, it could also be sold. It could also be connected to the database for investigations. I mean, we're talking about it could be potentially anywhere once they gather this information, and who knows where we'll end up. So that's in connection to IRS. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, what are we going to go on to now? There was something that Biden administration promoted that's called the Build Back Better Act. The Build Back Better Act gives the IRS approximately $80 billion so they can audit more people, so they can monitor Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle for transactions over $600. It's also to stipulate bank surveillance so that the IRS can view your bank account for transactions over $10,000 per year. That's $10,000, not per week, not per month, per year. So if it's $10,000 per year, when you break that down, the average person receiving maybe a Social Security check or SSI check, if it's $834 per month, potentially it could trigger an investigation on your account. Yeah, they're trying to keep track of all of your money due to the inflation. This inflation is a killer. It's a killer. So, what are some of the other laws, rules, and regulations that Biden and his administration have supported? Well, this one I'm going to mention was before Biden came into office. So when he supported this particular law, Bill Clinton was actually in office. And I don't know if many people know about this. So while Bill Clinton was in office in 1994, he supported a law called the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 by Bill Clinton. However, Joe Biden was one of the biggest supporters. He was like, ride or die for this type of law. This was the largest crime bill in history and provided over 100,000 new police officers and over $9 billion in prison funding. Wait a minute. Hold on. Double back, y'all. Over $9 billion in prison funding. But didn't I just say a lot of these prisons are privately owned with private investors, yet they can get funding? Isn't that an interesting observation? This law also established longer mandatory sentences and eliminated inmate education. Y'all remember, now don't act like y'all don't know. Y'all remember when our brothers and sisters would be in prison, they would get all this education. They'd come out smarter than what they was when they went in because they were forced to sit down and educate and to learn. Yeah, I remember that. Well, in 1994, Bill Clinton, with the support and the help of Joe Biden, eliminated inmate education. So there you go. In 1964, this is prior to this law being passed. So in 1964, about 33% of criminal sentencing was African American men. After 1994, it jumped to 51.1% imprisonment of men. And of that 51.1%, 46.7% were African American men. I ask you, do politics affect you in your life or what? Are you wondering why so many of our brothers are in prison? I'm asking you, if you haven't figured it out, then you might have to figure it out tonight. Let's move on. What else did Joe Biden participate in? What else did he promote? What else is his administration advising us? Well, you might have heard about the anti-lynching law. So they passed an anti-lynching law for Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, LBGT, and the Afghanistan people. There's always been talk about passing protection laws for the LBGT. Obama passed many laws for them. You shouldn't be surprised by that. But many people were not aware of the laws passed to protect Asians. You see, this was because of the not too long ago coronavirus, where a lot of people were blaming Asian people for this disease that was brought here to America. They were unhappy with them and they, thought they did it on purpose. So there you go. Why the Afghanistan people? Well, this is because if you remember back then, we were dealing with the war that was in Afghanistan where we left a lot of our military grade weapons over there and we abandoned the Afghanistan people. And so these laws were designed to protect that specific list of people. So when these candidates tell you, oh, we lack the ability to provide a law to specifically protect the African American people, they're not telling you the truth. They simply just don't want to do it. Now, a lot of you may know who the Black Panthers were, and some of them, I guess, are still alive. I want to speak about the Emmett Till bill. The Emmett Till bill was also an anti-lynching bill that was pushed by Bobby Rush, who is a former Black Panther. Bobby Rush made about 200, I repeat, 200 attempts to get this bill passed. And in the end, do you know what they did? They gave the family a Medal of Honor. A Medal of Honor. That's what they got, a Medal of Honor. So, along with the protection bill, the Asian hate crime bill provided $50 million, and the Afghanistan refugee bill got $6 billion. Yep. So they found money for those two groups and for those people. So Biden left approximately when the Afghanistan war was going on. We were over there because we always participate in these wars. We provide military, we provide ammunition, we provide firearms, we provide military advice and guidance and so forth. So when we left Afghanistan, Biden left approximately $85 billion worth of military grade equipment and about 600 machine gun firearms. After he left Afghanistan, there were reports of killings and allegedly Chinese and Russian military went there and was able to acquire a lot of the equipment, take it apart and rebuild it. Now, why would they do that? Well, because if you can take something apart, you can recreate it and you can manifest it again. That's probably why. So we all know right now what's going on, where Biden is supporting financially and also with our military 2 wars, one in Russia, one in Ukraine, the other one is in Israel, and the one is Palestine. Biden also put through the draft bill where mandatory draft for, I think the age is 18 to 26. And also they'll be drafting women. So women, you're not safe either. That's the new draft bill. What is he preparing for? What's coming? We have no idea. I want to say that the United States is spending trillions and trillions of dollars in all of these wars. For years, they have been telling you that reparations is impossible due to America lacking funds for it. Well, isn't that interesting? So let's switch on to the next candidate. Next candidate, this is going to be really short. There's not much to say about Robert F. Kennedy. So we're going to do it. And let's see. Here we go. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Many of them know that he is connected to the Kennedy family, who were previously in the office, presidential offices, Congress people, and so forth. So, Robert F. Kennedy. The biggest and the most common question Black people are asking Robert F. Kennedy is about reparations. I'm sure you've noticed Robert F. Kennedy has been going on a lot of Black platforms, social media platforms, where he can talk and speak and present to Black people about what his plans are, what his endeavors are. And of course, obviously, in exchange of that, he wants the vote. Our biggest question is always the same. What about reparations? Show us the money. Where is the money? Do you know what Robert F. Kennedy said? Do you know what his response was? He said that he couldn't do anything about reparations, that he'd rather not lie to Black people because Donald Trump put Republicans in the courthouse, in judges. And so he could not do anything in terms of reparations due to Donald Trump putting conservative judges in the courthouse. Now, those of you who know a little bit about politricks and politics in the game, you already know that judges are there to enforce, interpret the laws. Congress and the president creates the laws and they pass them. So what is Robert F. Kennedy talking about? I don't know. Maybe he thinks nobody knows what's going on. Maybe he thinks Black people are pretty stupid. I don't know. But judges analyze and enforce the law. The president and Congress create and pass the laws. So it appears that Robert is attempting to redirect our attention in another direction. This is all a game to get you distracted and worried, fearful, and make you angry, upset. But let's get off of Robert. What if I told you that it didn't matter who you voted for? What if I told you that it's all part of a game and it doesn't matter who's in the office? Because it's all going to affect you anyway. So with that said, if you had that information, if you knew that, how would you align yourself? It's all a portal. It's a political portal, and they pull you in. And we are being drawn in. And a lot of times we choose not to go in, but you find later on we get pulled in, whether we like it or not. Yeah. It's like choosing with these candidates. It's like choosing the lesser of two evils, or many evils, I guess you could say. Okay. Let's move on to the next person. Yes, I'm going to spend some time on the next person because it's going to get fun now. Yeah, let's have some fun. Who do we have next? We have Donald Trump. And yeah, I'm going to save the good part for the last, you guys. We're going to save the good part for the last. Now, here we go. Has anyone noticed that while Donald Trump was in the office, there was no wars, no bombs dropped anywhere? Did anyone pay attention to that? How is that? How is that he could be in the office and no fights are breaking out with these countries. And he even said it. He said, when I get in office, it won't be any wars. Ain't nobody gonna be in here fighting because we ain't got no time for that. We got to do some things here. We got to handle some business. And I thought, yeah, right. Guess what? Not a single war, guys. Not a bomb drop, nothing. Yeah, people got agitated, aggravated. Might have been a little bit of arguing and tit for tat here, but nobody made a move. Nobody made a move. As soon as we got a new candidate, we already have had 3 wars. And anyone looking at what's going on in Africa, you see those 3 countries over there emerging. What do you think they're preparing for? What is going on? All right. What did Donald Trump do while he was in the office? Now, I want to say also, I did not have time to research this. I actually heard this from another person, and it was actually Umar Johnson. Umar Johnson said that prior to Donald Trump leaving the office, he put through an order to have, I think he said 2 or 3 black men who were on death row to be executed. I didn't research this. I didn't look into it. I'm not sure. You can do your own due diligence. The question is, why would he put that order through prior to him leaving the office? And who were those black men and what were their crimes that was committed? That would be your homework, guys. Because if you're going to vote for Donald Trump, then you need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of this. Now, let's see. Anyone familiar with the First Step Act law? The First Step Act law. It was passed in 2018. It allowed, well, mostly black people, I would have to say, black and Hispanic people, to get out of prison for a number of reasons. It also stopped the situation where the prison officers were allowed to handcuff women to the bed while they were in labor, having the baby inside of the prison. So it used to be that if a woman was in prison and she happened to be pregnant and she went into labor, the requirement was to handcuff her to the bed while she had the baby. Can you imagine that? Well, men, I don't know if you can imagine it, but women, can you imagine the labor pains and you tied up? Yeah, that ain't no BDSM, y'all. That's some other stuff going on there. Anyway, the First Step Act law stopped that. So now women in prison no longer have to be handcuffed down. What else did the First Step Act do? It reduced the stacking of multiple offenses. So what is stacking? Stacking is where you get caught and you're going to court, and so they'll have one incident, then they'll have the first incident, and they'll have the third incident, and it'll be separate charges. But stacking is when they stack them all on top of one another, and you get longer sentences, longer, harder sentences. So this affected people who were arrested, particularly in drug offenses. Stacking is usually a thing that's used when they're dealing with people who are getting caught with dealing drugs, basically. So he eliminated the stacking. He reduced the stacking of it. So it did a lot more things, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of idea. You can look into it and research it and see what else, what else it does. So what if we wanted to speak about tax laws with Donald Trump? You know what? Let's be clear. Donald Trump is all about money. He's about the bag, y'all. Period. End of story. If you were confused about it, don't be confused about it anymore. This man is all about the Benjamins. That's it. So he's a businessman. What would you expect in terms of tax laws? What would you expect in terms of business laws? What would you expect? Let me tell you, while Trump was in office, I saw more Black Americans had the highest number of creating and manifesting businesses, particularly Black men. Particularly, I tell you, we had the highest number of Black men starting and creating businesses when Donald Trump was in the office. Did he create laws that specifically directly affected Black people only? No. What he did was create laws that affected everyone. And you either ride the wave or you don't. This is why I say you have to pay attention to the rules and the regulations and the laws that these people are passing so that you could possibly put yourself in a position to ride the waves. Let me tell you, back then, a lot of these brothers I met were building their dream, chasing their endeavors. They were trying to make it happen. So what else did Donald Trump do? What about colleges? I know he spoke about this because Donald Trump is a bit of a bragger. So he likes to talk about himself and what he's accomplished and what he did. He's not going to tell you anything negative about himself. So I know you guys heard a lot about the colleges, the HBCU colleges that he said was always coming to him every year and asking for money. Trump approved $40 billion for the HBCU colleges. Okay? It's interesting that a lot of those HBCU colleges are not in an uproar because after Trump approved that, when Biden came into the office, he lowered the $40 billion down to $2 billion. And now they're back to square one. Yep. Do you remember Donald Trump saying, oh, these Black teachers and professors and administrators from colleges were begging. They came to me and they were begging. And he kind of made himself sound like some type of savior or I don't know, but I remember that story. Okay, now let's get to the good part, y'all. Let's get to the good part. Let's move on to current events. What has been happening for the last few days? Well, let's dive in this. As many of you know, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, right? Let's talk a little bit about the shooter. I'm not going to speak too much about him, but I'll just a little bit. His name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. Allegedly, Thomas was registered as a Republican. Allegedly, he never voted because he was 21 years old. Allegedly, he donated $15 to the Biden campaign in previous years. Allegedly, his body was found. When it was found after they unalived him, he was wearing clothing that promoted and supported and advertised firearms. Allegedly, there were reports of being more than one person involved in this shooting. Let me tell you, there was so many things coming out so fast, it was hard to keep track of it. But this is what I was able to take note. So, unfortunately, only one person was caught, and that was Thomas. And due to the fact that he's no longer with us, we do not have the opportunity to question him, to question why he was doing this. I don't know. Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think that's, I don't know, a coincidence? There were a few interviews with people who went to school with Thomas where they said things like Thomas was humiliated in school and, they were embarrassing him. They were harassing Thomas. They were bullying him. This creates a narrative for us to sympathize and empathize with Thomas. And it should be well expected. You shouldn't expect anything else. You shouldn't be surprised by it. Now, Thomas was very young, 20 years old, right? He was a member of the local firearms club and worked as a dietary aide at a nursing facility. Reports say that Thomas Crook's father allegedly called the police approximately at the same time Thomas was at the rally and ready to shoot Donald Trump with the AR-15 rifle. Now, supposedly the father called and said, hey, my son Thomas is missing and the rifle's also missing. Do you think that's a coincidence? I don't know, guys. I mean, as of today, the investigation regarding Thomas has not revealed why Thomas targeted Trump. They have no idea why a 20-year-old would take his firearm and climb high up and do such a thing. This does take planning, though, doesn't it? For Thomas to be able to do this, is it some planning involved here? Yeah, I think so. Does it take some thought about what you're doing? The consequences? Does it take some type of preparation? To some extent, probably. How large is an AR-15, guys? How big do you think it is? Is it noticeable when you're carrying it, when you're walking by people? Is it noticeable? How did he get it past security? I mean, when these presidents and vice presidents and ex-presidents and Congress people come up and talk, we have the CIA scanning the place. We have the FBI scanning the place. I'm just asking questions. Maybe Thomas did all of this by himself, right? But we're unable to question Thomas because he's no longer here with us, right? So, some people say it was an inside job. Some people say it was an inside job. How did Thomas get past all that security? They often check to see the angles of the buildings and in the range, who's coming through. There's scanning systems. There's security everywhere. CIA, FBI, government. How did he get past all of that? You think it was an inside job? I don't know. I'm just suggesting. Do you think Thomas just did this all on his own? 20-year-old young man. He did all of this plotting and planning on his own. Do you believe that Donald Trump himself is involved in this, and that maybe Donald Trump was like, hey, let's just make me look, like I'm a victim so that I can get votes? Because I don't know if you guys know what's going on, but Donald Trump's stock. So it happened on Saturday. By Monday, his stock with the pre-trading, shout out to our brothers and sisters who are out here trading on the stock market into the futures, it jumped 50%. 50%. Donald Trump is all about the money anyway, right? All about the Benjamin. You probably could have looked at his chart and figured this out. What else happened with Donald Trump and money? So Elon Musk mentions that he's going to give millions of dollars to the cause. Like, all of a sudden, Donald Trump's getting all of this support, all of this love, all of this sympathy, all of this empathy. And then what does he do to add the cherry on top? He walks out listening to 50 Cent's song, Many Men. Many men wish death on him. Boy, oh boy, this political portal, it just pulls you in and sucks you in. And how do you get out? How do you get out? One thing, though, I want to say, I noticed one thing about a young lady there, a Caucasian woman. I'm not really sure what's going on here. So she was sitting a few feet behind Trump. And so here's what was going on. She had on her shades and her hat, and she's pulling up a sign, and you can see the sign says, Biden here. She's behind Trump, right? And then after the shooting, she pulls out her cell phone and she starts taking, I guess she was taking photos or video. She appeared to be normal, it wasn't like she was ducking and hiding and fearful or anything. She just, in the beginning, she put up her sign. You could see it there. It's inching up until she gets it to the point, Biden here. And then you hear the gunshots, pow, 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 about 8 or 9, 10 times. And as opposed to her rolling on the ground, like, is it only Black people who know how to duck? We hit gunshots, we hit the ground, we hit the surface and we're ducking. I don't know. She didn't seem to be afraid of that. I mean, what do I know? It's just an observation. I remained in observation mode. And so I'm not going to leave it with anything else other than that. I'm just going to just leave that there with you. We have, hey, Cynthia! Hold on. You voted for Joe? Hey, it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do, right? Foolishness. Great title. Yes, exactly. It's all craziness. It's foolishness, Evening, good evening. Yep. Yep, that's the percentages, honey. That is the percentages. Crook's funny last name. Yep, 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 exactly. You see what we dealing with here? This is what we dealing with here. And, you know, people, they want to believe that they can vote and that everything is going to be okay. And in all honesty, you never really know what's going to happen. You never really know. So I'm not going to sit here and predict that I know who's going to win. I hear people saying, oh, Donald Trump is going to win. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You know, there was like a card that someone showed me that was created years ago that showed Donald Trump with his fist up. Like why? Why, when this man got shot at, did he pump his fist up? Like, what is this symbol? This is always a symbol that you see us utilizing, right? Power to the people. How ironic is that he does that symbol right after he gets shot? Now, there were people saying that he wasn't necessarily shot, where they said the glass on one of the screens shattered, broke, and then it hit his ear. If you're going to get hit with an AR-15, if you guys have ever been around an AR-15 or you ever shot one or if you ever seen someone else shoot one, it's a very powerful instrument. And so for it to like pierce your ear, it might even knock your ear off. It's a powerful, powerful firearm. It's a very strong weapon. So at this incident, I believe they said one person passed away and two other people were injured, or something like one person passed away or unalived and another person was injured. Regardless, people got hurt, you know, so you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You never know what's going to happen. So it just so happens, they said, that Donald Trump was speaking and he just happened to turn his head this way and then whoosh. So they're saying that's why he's alive. Was it all a farce or an act or a show or creative? I don't know. I'm only presenting to you the information that I have and what I see and what I observe. So now, what we're going to dive into? We're going to dive into Donald Trump's zodiac chart. This is going to be fun. Yes. As many of you know, Donald Trump is a Gemini. And so the attempt made on his life was made on a Saturday. All right, I want y'all to pay attention now because here's the magic of it all. The attempt that was made on his life was on a Saturday, right? It was at 6:11, right? The time was 6:11. Donald Trump is a Gemini with Leo and Sagittarius in his chart, right? So I want you to remember that. And I'm not going to tell you all the answers. I want you to do homework. I want you to do the work. I'm not going to tell you everything all the time. So I want you to get your brain active and just try to figure it out. So look, here we go. Here's a little bit of something for you. So he's a Gemini with significant placement in the Sagittarius and Leo. Born during eclipse, y'all. He was born during an eclipse. This is powerful, guys. This is powerful. The assassination attempt was done on Saturday in Butler County, Pennsylvania. So it was done at 6:11, right? Okay, so here we go. So is it 6:11 or 9:11? What does 9/11 mean to you? What does the number 6:11 mean to you? Or does it mean anything at all? Right? Think about that. Now, let's go further. Donald Trump is a Gemini just like Kanye West. Notice the resemblance in their characteristics, their loudness, they're boisterous, they're outspoken, they say anything that's on their mind without even thinking about it. Donald Trump, oh, wait, hold on. I'm supposed to do one more thing. Hold on real quick. I'm supposed to be doing one more thing. Hold on. Let's go. Let me see here. Guys, I forgot to activate the other side. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me get this on. Let's see. Okay. So now we got it. It's up and we can get couple of minutes in there. Okay. All right. So there we go. So back to it now. Now, Donald Trump is obsessed with communication. This is the Gemini in him. And driven by explosive dialogue, always saying shocking, astonishing things. His chart, his zodiac chart, reveals a lot of drama. However, we already see that because he loves to shake things up and be controversial. Donald Trump's reputation is to be the type of person to cause chaos and mayhem, to shake things up, to put a fire underneath your belly. This is his reputation. This is what he's here to do. This is what he's designed to do. He's doing his job, basically, right? Or at least that's what it appears to be. So, controversial. His chart reveals a lot of drama, and we could already see that. His chart indicates that he's supposed to be some type of leader. And this may be why he sees himself as a center of the universe. So in his zodiac chart, it's showing that he was born to be a leader and that it wasn't going to necessarily be easy for him, and that he would have some dramatic experiences in his life that's going to absolutely change his life. He was born to be a leader. He's just doing what he's supposed to do. Is he doing it the right way? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you if I know that. Okay. So, born to be a leader. He's fearless when it comes to building a legacy and manifesting a kingdom. This is all shown in his zodiac chart. Fearless leader. But that all adds up, right? It all makes sense because he doesn't care. Donald Trump doesn't care. He seems to think that, or he seems to believe that it's all about him. And that's it. He's the king of the kingdom. He's the leader of the pack. He's the head honcho, big dog in charge. So what else is revealed in Donald Trump's chart, his zodiac chart? He always wants to win, and he's always ready for a fight. Y'all, Donald Trump chart reveals that he ain't done. What do you think is going to happen next? Donald Trump ain't done, y'all. His zodiac chart shows that he is not done. So there's some more stuff coming up with him. I mean, this man is so dramatic and so eccentric and so like attracting all of these various different energies. And does he even know what to do with them? I don't know. Coming out, to a rally, playing 50 Cent's music, Many Men, pumping up his hand and his fist, pulling on Black people's energy. If y'all ain't figured it out yet, then you got to know he's definitely trying to pull y'all into this political portal. And let's see what else is in store for Donald Trump. I want you to figure it out. I'm not going to tell y'all. I'm not going to tell you everything. I want you to sit down and figure out what else is in store for Donald Trump. How does this affect you in any way or anyhow? And how does it affect the rest of the society? I tell you what, though. I am going to give you a little hint. Okay? I'm going to give you a little hint, and that's that. And you could figure out what you think is going to happen. Okay? Now, so here's the hint. And it has to do with his chart. Okay? Here we go. It's a tip, actually. He has the planets Saturn and Pluto making big impacts in his life. So I want you to think about the day of the attempt on the assassination. All right, y'all. And think about what planet is active right now as we speak, or in retrograde as we speak. I'm just simply here to make you think. I'm going to repeat that so you would get what I'm saying. Okay. Here's the tip for you to figure it out. Donald Trump has the planets Saturn and Pluto making big, gigantic impacts in his life. Now, double back now. What day was the assassination attempt? Because this is connected to one of the planets in his chart that's supposed to be significant in his life. So that's part of your homework. Now, Donald Trump was born in the eclipse, right? And we added up his birthday and it came to the number 4. So get this. I want to give a special shout out to our brother Lloyd Strayhorn, who gave me his autograph Numbers and You book. Shout out to Lloyd Strayhorn. Sending you much love and positive energy, my brother. So Donald Trump, born in the eclipse, is a number 4. It says, for a number 4, you must learn to be practical, methodical, studious, serious, down to earth, disciplined, honest, loyal, punctual, and trustworthy. Is that Donald Trump? I don't know if that's necessarily Donald Trump's personality, but okay, we'll go with that. Okay, that's what he's supposed to be. What is he not supposed to be? Now, Donald Trump is not supposed to be fearful of change, rigid, dogmatic, stubborn, melancholy, dull, boring, and slow. Well, we know he ain't dull, boring, and slow. That's for damn sure. We know that for a fact. Now, knowing that the date of the attempted assassination was on July 13th, 2024. When you add these numbers up, it equals the number 1. Okay? Now, get this. Even that said, July 13th is also July 4th. 4th of July, right? So what happens on the 4th of July? We get fireworks, firearms. What do people do on the 4th of July? They go outside, they light it up. And is it always firecrackers out there? No. A lot of times it's something else, right? What type of messages is being sent to Donald Trump? So you got July 13, 2024, which equals the number 1. And then when you do July 13th, where the 13 actually equals 4, which still equals the number 1, right? So when I look at Lloyd Strayhorn's book, Numbers in You, guess what the number 1 represents? You're going to get a kick out of this. It says, number 1, you must learn to be original, creative, forceful, determined, ambitious, bold, self-controlled, and self-confident. Do not, I repeat, do not be bossy, selfish, limited, egotistical. I repeat, egotistical, weak-minded, arrogant. Oh, I repeat, arrogant. Do not be a bully or domineering. I repeat, do not be a bully or domineering. We can look at this as a message, a spirit message to Donald Trump, where he's supposed to get his shit together, to get an alignment, to do what he needs to do, whatever it is that he's supposed to do. The attempt was made on 6/11. Is that 9/11? What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Who knows? Right? So if we take the 6 plus 1 plus 1, that equals 8. What does 8 mean? 8 is you must be authoritative, determined, in control, successful, persevering, thorough, philosophical, and a leader. But what you should not be, what you should not do, the energy you should not embrace, you should not hunger for power. Oh my God. You should not hunger for power. You should not hunger for money. You should not hunger for material possessions. Fatalistic in outlook, domineering, oppressive, a schemer, a bullying, or being misunderstood. Wow. So you think Donald Trump is getting some spirit messages here? That's a possibility. That is absolutely a possibility. So 911, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus another 1 is 11. So then is that number 2? Number 2, you must be loving, peaceful, considerate, kind, understanding, persuasive, patient, and gentle. Do not be overly sensitive, easily swayed by others, moody, impressionable, and petty. I repeat, don't be petty. OMG. That is it, brothers and sisters. That's Donald Trump's spirit messages. I don't know. What do you see? What do you think about the assassination attempt on a Saturday? Do you know what this Saturday represents? Do you know what Saturday means? I'm not going to tell y'all. I want y'all to figure it out. What about numbers? There's another way to look at numbers. You can look at numbers from a different aspect in a different way, and you can figure that out. What about Donald Trump's zodiac sign? Did you hear anything in particular that there are other things in his chart that I could have pointed out and looked at, but that's what I chose to focus on. So Donald Trump was simply born to be a leader. How he's handling the situation is a whole nother story. You know, he could roll with the punches and get things done, or he could be who he is. This is who he was born to be. Donald Trump is a little crazy. More like a lot crazy, honey. More like a lot crazy. Yes, he is. He is. Yeah. 4th of July. Yep. 4th of July is all about what? Independence Day, fireworks. So they tried to assassinate him on Saturday at 6/11, July 13th, but 3 plus 1 is 4. Therefore, is it the 4th of July, which is Independence Day, which is fireworks, which is 6 boom ba, right? Where people go out and shoot their firearms as opposed to shooting their fireworks. I mean, all of this symbolism, you know, I don't know if Donald Trump is going to win or not. I don't know if Joe Biden is going to win. I don't know if Robert F. Kennedy is going to win. I'm not going to tell you what I see. I'm going to let you figure it out on your own. But I want to express to you that regardless of who's in the office, it doesn't freaking matter. It doesn't matter. Because what you have to do is you have to align yourself with what they're doing. That's all you have to do. So if they're going to change these laws and they're going to say something like, boys or men can now play sports with girls. For me, I wouldn't put my daughter in any sports where a man can play against her, especially if it's like wrestling, if it's football or basketball. I wouldn't even entertain that. And I'm so doggone feisty, y'all. I'll be up in that school. I'll be like, no. We are not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I wouldn't even entertain the idea. And as far as the tax laws that are being passed, then I encourage you to speak to an accountant. Do your due diligence, do your research, figure out what tax bracket you're in and how it's going to affect you, whether good or bad, and then you can prepare moving forward. As far as the rules and the regulations in connection to like wars, get ready, y'all. Get ready. I'm telling y'all, get ready for a ride. The more you are prepared, the more you are well planned, the more when whatever is coming and whatever is going to happen, the more you are at ease and you can deal with it. You can handle it without fear, without anxiety, without worry. In terms of laws that are being passed in regards to your food, you already know what it is. You should already be aligning yourself up with the proper people to get the proper nutrients and food and minerals in your body, the herbs and everything that you need. I'm going to tell you something. I always ask people this. If you knew that the coronavirus was coming before the coronavirus arrived, what would you have done? Would you have gotten yourself some moulin? Would you have gotten yourself some herbs? Would you have put money aside in case they would have threatened to take your job and say, oh, you don't want to get this, we're going to fire you? What would you have done? right? So what I'm saying is, if you already see something coming, then what you should be doing is preparing yourself. That's all. That's all I want to say. I'm not gonna talk too much, guys. I gotta go do some other things and prepare for some other things, but I want to say I bid you a farewell, and of course, I always wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors and all your things that you want to accomplish in your life, and hopefully it'll all be good, because we don't know who's gonna win in this race. They say, some people say the Democrats were trying to attack him. Some people say he set himself up. Who knows? Who knows? Do we really know the answer? I think the way this society operates is that the answer would be revealed to us like a year or two later. A lot of times that's the way they do it. You'll find out a year or two, maybe 5, 10 years later, oh, this is actually what happened. Will you find out what happened right now? Probably not. Chances are you won't. So it is what it is. We keep it moving and we keep it rocking and doing what we got to do. And that's the best we can do. So with that, guys, I want to bid you a farewell. I want you to stay cool, stay hydrated, stay meditated, chakra activated, stay focused, stay on top of your goals and your endeavors, stay around good people, stay around positive people, be supportive of one another. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much. That's all I got to say. So I'm off. You guys have a beautiful night. I love you. Mwah. Take care of yourselves. Bye.